Good afternoon. My name is Maureen Dumas, and I am the Vice President of Advancement and University Relations here at Johnson & Wales University. Thank you for joining us today for the session, A Celebration of Women's History Month, JWU Alumni in Leadership. We are thrilled to bring you this programming featuring 3 dynamic female leaders who have risen through the ranks of their respective companies or led their own. We are grateful they have taken the time to be with us today to share their experience and expertise to answer your questions. Questions can be submitted through the session utilizing the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. These questions will be posed to our panelists during the Q&A section of the presentation. I'd now like to introduce you to today's moderator, Marie Bernardo-Sousa, President of JWU's Providence campus. Marie Bernardo-Sousa has spent her 30-year career in higher education at Johnson & Wales University. She came to the Providence campus as an undergraduate student, and her first position was in the registrar's office in 1988. What followed began her trajectory of positions of progressive responsibility at Johnson & Wales. In March 2019, she was appointed Providence campus president. With a keen commitment to the student experience, Dr. Bernardo-Sousa has a long history of fostering collaboration among departments and across JWU's 2 campus system to facilitate the creation and revision of policies and operational efficiencies and improvements. She also manages staff through ongoing redesign and change initiatives to ensure students receive optimum care and service, of course, also highly engaging education. Dr. Bernardo-Sousa holds a doctorate in law and policy from Northeastern University, a Master of Science degree in human resources from Emmanuel College, and a Bachelor of Science degree in marketing from Johnson & Wales University. Please join me in welcoming our amazing campus president, Dr. Marie Bernardo-Sousa.
Thank you, Maureen, and good afternoon. It's such an honor to be moderating today's panel. I had an opportunity to meet the panelists earlier in the month, and I'm just awed by their talent, perspectives, and experience. It's so fitting that we have this opportunity today at a university that was founded by 2 women in 1914, years before women had the right to vote. These women, Gertrude Johnson and Mary Wales, are indicative of women who seized an opportunity and ignored the individuals who did not believe in the capacity of women to run a business, to educate the future of our country, to support veterans and diverse learners. They created the foundation for a university that has a world-renowned reputation. Our founders also share so many of the same attributes that I see in these women: passionate, bright, courageous, competitive, creative, and probably most importantly, comfortable with being uncomfortable, a clear pathway for success. The talent in today's panel is impressive, and for me, it's a privilege to moderate our discussion with such impressive and visionary women. I'm going to welcome each of our panelists and invite them to turn on their cameras, starting with Kristen LaCount, class of 2003, and Chief Operating Officer and General Manager of the Country Club. Kristen attended Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island, graduating with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Food Service Management. Upon graduation, Kristen became an assistant manager at the Country Club in Brookline, Massachusetts. Kristen became a club manager in 2007, an assistant general manager in 2013, and assumed the position of general manager in October 2020, the first woman to lead the club in its 140-year history. It's quite an achievement. Kristen has also served as the president of the New England Club Managers Association and is an active committee member of the National Club Association. Kristen has taught classes and has participated as a guest speaker and panelist at many local universities and national conferences. Kristen resides in Milton, Massachusetts with her husband, Dan, who is an owner of 2 restaurants, and they have 2 children, Henley and Sam. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you, Marie. Honored to be here.
Great. Next, we have Heather Singleton, Class of 1997 with her bachelor's and 1999 with her MBA. Heather is the Chief Operating Officer of the Rhode Island Hospitality Association and the Rhode Island Hospitality Education Foundation, working in and around the hospitality industry since her undergraduate days at Johnson Wales as a Johnson Wales University student. Heather has climbed the executive ladder with over 25 years of hospitality service experience. Coming to Rhode Island from upstate New York, Heather carries an associate's in travel tourism management, a bachelor's in international business, and an MBA in international business. In her current role, she is responsible for establishing and implementing and ensuring that the goals and objectives of the enterprise are met. Heather provides day-to-day staff management and oversees all operations, including but not limited to membership services, endorsed programs, educational partners, and training programs. She also serves as Vice Chair of the Certification Governing Committee of the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation, the International Society of Hotel Associations Board of Directors, the Rhode Island Center for Career and Technical Education Board of Trustees as a trustee on the William Davis Junior Career and Technical School Board of Trustees. In addition, Heather has developed core skills training courses for the Rhode Island Hospitality Training Academy, has taught several travel and tourism classes at both the Community College of Rhode Island and the Hospitality College and Graduate School at Johnson Wales University for over a decade. And she was the keynote speaker at Johnson Wales University's convocation for 4 years. Heather, we're so thrilled to have you with us today.
Thank you, Maureen. This is exciting. Marie, I'm sorry. I said I was staring at.
That's
Maureen.
okay. It's absolutely fine. This is a conversation among friends, so I hope we can make it as informal as possible. Last but not least is Robin Blanchette, founder and CEO of the Houston-based Norton Creative, a restaurant marketing and design agency that puts business results at the center of every unique solution. She is also a parent of a current JWU student who is slated to graduate next year. Robin founded Norton Creative in 2014 after a celebrated 20-year career in corporate in-house advertising and marketing, and now directs a nimble and creative team that delivers big results for clients like Buffalo Wild Wings, Golden Corral, Fogo de Chao, Wahlburgers, and TGI Fridays on projects ranging from brand identity, design concepting and interiors, menu engineering and layout, national television advertising, and digital social media strategy and execution. Prior to founding Norton Creative, Robin was the chief marketing officer at Ignite Restaurant Group, the parent company to Joe's Crab Shack, Romano's Macaroni Grill, Brick House Tavern and Tap. And prior to that, Ignite, Robin was the director of national campaigns and media services at Applebee's International, where she led all media and national campaign planning for the casual dining leader. Robin's 20-year career also includes work with Pepsi core brands and new products at the Tracy Locke and leadership of the in-house media department for Michael's Stores Incorporated, the largest arts and crafts retailer in the country. Robin has served on the marketing advisory board for both Share Our Strengths, No Kid Hungry, and Women's Food Service Forum, the most respected leadership development resource for a woman in the restaurant industry. She is also co-chair of the marketing committee for Gleam, a national mentoring organization for the hospitality industry. Robin earned a master's of business administration from Texas Christian University, where she served on the executive board for Neely Business School, and a bachelor's of arts in communication from Baylor University. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you, Marie. That sure does make me feel tired when you read
You've done a lot in a short period of time.
Flashback of my life.
I'm sure everyone who's listening today and watching today agrees with me. These are truly amazing women, and we're so fortunate to have some time to learn a little bit more about them and their experience and their journey. So I'd like to get us started today with asking each of you to reflect on a female figure in your life who's had an impact on you both personally and professionally. I know it may not be the same person, but if you could share a little bit of that, that would be great. Heather, do you mind if I start with you?
Yeah, sure. I can do that. So I've been in my position for 25 years. I'm starting my 26th year with the Rhode Island Hospitality Association, and I feel very lucky. One of the reasons why I've had such longevity is because the president and CEO of our association hired me when I was a college student, and she created a position for me when I was finished, and I've been here ever since. And she didn't ask me, by the way, her name is Dale Venturini. I should, give her kudos, but she didn't ask me if she could be my mentor. She just kind of did it. So she just, took me under her wing, and would sometimes have, difficult conversations with a younger person, especially, woman to woman. She was like, let's talk about a couple of things here. And I was grateful that she just did it without me asking. On the personal side, a number of years ago, I felt a little stuck. And I know we're going to talk about all kinds of things today, but I went to this business after hours event, and there was a speaker there who was talking about just like professional dress and clothing. And it was like for a younger group of women. And for whatever reason, I felt connected to this woman. And so I talked to her after the event, and I ended up hiring her. And she came to my home and she said, "What do you want your personal brand to be? And what do you want to wear?" We talked about all kinds of things. We talked about hairstyles. We talked about clothing and the wardrobe. We talked about all kinds of stuff. And I ended up deciding that, okay, if I'm going to, expand my career and grow in association management, I need to step up my game. I need to be more professional. I ended up having personal stationery made because this woman recommended it. And so her name is Margaret Batting, if anyone knows Margaret. But yes, two very influential women in my life.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Heather. And I know Dale personally and know what a mentor she has been to so many young women in the community. So it's wonderful to have a shout out to her. Kristen, can you talk a little bit about what your experience has been like?
It's funny, and nothing ever comes immediately to mind other than my mom. On the personal end of things, I think I always give my parents credit for how I've been shaped as a human, but I think all of her strength and kind of what she has gone through, and just the motivating me and really pushing me and in all the right ways, it has always been a huge impact. But I think in clubs, it's interesting. I grew up in the kitchen, and then I chose private clubs, which both are predominantly male. So when you get into kind of who my career mentors were, most of them are male, frankly. But I think a tipping point for me were probably two times in our local chapter, the New England Club Managers Association that you referenced, where I was fortunate enough to be able to serve as president after 9 years being on that board. There was one woman that kind of got up to the podium when I was 22, and it was my first chapter meeting. And she, just seeing her in that role as the treasurer of the chapter, I think was one of those quick moments that I said, okay, this is a real, obtainable, I can actually do this in management. But I attended at my first world conference for the Club Managers Association. We're a very intimate group. We share a ton of information. No one competes against each other. So it's a wide open network. There was a women in club management panel, and a woman named Marcy Mills, who's been in the industry as a general manager for many years. But it was a tipping point for me because I was later in my 20s and had been constantly told that, you can't have a family and a life and a career, and how do you balance it all? And so Marcy was the first person to really start talking about having, a couple children at home and her house being less than 5 miles from the club. And that was the key for me. And I really latched onto that. And I've used it a lot in my own career, just letting people kind of understand proximity and your support system have so much to do with whether you're a mom or a dad or anyone for that matter. It is all about that. But as I reflected on this question, I think those were kind of the 3 moments that came into mind as it directly relates to club management today.
Kristen, thank you so much. And it's always wonderful when you get to see someone who has achieved great success and is able to kind of integrate all aspects of their life into a full life. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Robin, what would you say?
Well, I'm with Kristen when I have to lean in here to my mother. That was the immediate thought I had with regards to this question. My mom is in her 80s now. My company is my maiden name, Norton. And so Linda Norton has been sort of my inspiration. Quite frankly, she I didn't never really know what I wanted to do. I mean, many of us don't, right? When we're going into college, some people have a strong path, but I had no idea. And they're like, you'll figure it out, you just take it 1 year at a time, learn. And, she has reinvented herself multiple times in her life. She became a nurse when she went to nursing school at 63 and worked for 20 years as a hospice nurse and just retired like 6 months ago. And I think, always sort of showing that there's potential in your life, that it's never over. You can constantly reinvent yourself. You can go to a different job and learn new things. You can become an entrepreneur. You can go for it, And I think that's been a message that she sort of instilled in me throughout my lifetime. And to Kristen's point too, just always sort of helping sort of shape me and make sure that I'm focused on the right things. And I think this is where women really lead, right? Where we are very much focused as a sort of a group on, look, you don't have to be a jerk, to be able to be successful. You can be kind. You can use your natural gifts in order to be successful. And she really taught me that. And I would say that crosses over personal and professional. But if I had to pick anything or anyone in my professional life, it would really be the very young people that we have here at Norton and the people I've worked with that are sort of just coming out of college. I'll tell you, the 20-somethings, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but they mentor me. I mean, I learned so much from the women here, and we are mostly women, office. We do have some guys here, but, I learned so much from them about sort of being fresh, thinking fresh, having new eyeballs on things and thinking about things differently. So, a lot of times, and Kristen, you mentioned, being in your 20s, you're very, you get very, you lack a lot of confidence. You're not really sure sort of where to go, what to do, but these folks, and certainly this generation coming up, I get mentored by them every single day. So it's definitely, and those are sort of my 2 mentors or inspiration.
That's great. Robin, your mom sounds like an inspiring woman. Love to meet her one day. Just an incredible role model. And I think your point about, leaning into what we can learn from one another, particularly people who may not have had share the same experiences, is so valid. So thank you for that. I know mentorship is a big topic, and it's also a key factor in growth and preparation of strong leaders. So Kristen and Heather, how have mentors impacted your career? Kristen, can we start with you?
Sure. I mean, my entire career story at this point is written around an amazing mentor who was the former GM here, David Shagg, who luckily took me under his wing in 2003 when I had that culinary job fall through. And he said, give this a try, but you can talk to every club manager will tell you they fell into it by accident. No one goes to school saying, I want to manage a private club. So many of us come out of the food and beverage realm. But David, obviously, the succession plan that took place here with my stepping in 2020 after his 34 years and the board unanimously taking his recommendation, really, because he put me in a position to be already in the role. We called it assistant GM, was acting GM. And so I think when you have someone like that who identifies potential when you're so early on in your career and finds that all of the hurdles they set up for you, because part of, in my mind, what made him such a great mentor is he challenged me constantly and he pushed me to the top end of my game and continued to do that. And even now, as my senior advisor is what we call him, we have those, therapy sessions occasionally, and he's still pushing me. And I think that is, it was in my culinary days. My dad was someone I looked up to. He's a chef, and he also has a restaurant, not just my husband. But you look at that and say, I've been so fortunate to watch career development and mentoring take place every single day at the country club. This is a very educational environment. So in a lot of ways, I'm extremely grateful for it. But he is, if you Googled the country club and kind of the general manager, it would all come up that David and Kristen were kind of this success story, truly, with what we just went through. And I'm so fortunate and so grateful that everything fell into place the way it did.
That's great. And it really talks about, the power of coming together and building off of, those unique gifts that we all bring to the table. So that's great. Thank you so much. Heather, what was your experience with mentors like?
Well, I have to say, I so identify with what Kristen just said, and making sure that you have a mentor that is going to challenge you and push you and hold you accountable, because oftentimes we don't know what we can achieve until, we're kind of pushed in that uncomfortable way, and you just start doubting yourself and you're like, I don't know if I can do it. But when you have someone like Kristen describes, that's pushing you, hold on to that, find those people. I think the only other thing I would add is I say this a lot to people that I even mentor, which is your reputation is what people say about you when you're not around or when you're not in the room. And so I want my reputation to be a positive one. So I'll look to other women that I trust and that I respect, and I'll try to emulate them, or I'll think about, why do I trust them? Why do I respect them? What are the qualities that they're putting out there, or the behaviors that they're demonstrating that make me trust and respect them? And then I'll just try to do that and lead by example from there.
Great. Heather, you mentioned being a mentor. Can you talk about that experience and what that's been like for you?
Sure. I think but as I grow in my career, I think earlier on, I was a mentor to other people when I was a teaching assistant, and I'm the oldest of 4 children. So I like to consider myself a mentor to my I don't think my younger siblings would say that, but so I have a little bit of experience there. But I would say if you're mentoring others, the biggest takeaway would be to realize that you're just giving somebody advice. They don't have to take it. Like, I remember giving advice a number of years ago to someone, and they didn't take my advice. And I was like, well, they asked me what my opinion was, and how come they're not, doing what I suggested? And then I quickly realized that it's just an opinion, Heather. It's just advice. So they can take it or leave it. And I guess in that experience, what I learned is mentoring should be unconditional. It should be unconditional love. You can disagree on a lot of things, but at the end of the day, you're really just trying to guide somebody and give them the best advice. Whether or not they take it, that's on them.
Right. Everyone has their own personal journey, right? And you're just kind of launching them off onto it. So building on, mentorship, Robin, in earlier conversations, you spoke about the importance of having a personal board of directors. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, the concept I really learned in my 20s from going to Women in Food Service and their conferences and their breakouts and emerging leader breakouts, things like that. The idea really is about having a circle of people that you can go to sort of ask for insight, to lean on. I mean, I can tell you, I would never have started my own company had I not had this group of people. I wouldn't. I mean, I've got folks that are, in nonprofit and folks that are, and these are friends of mine, but really those that have gone before me. In many ways, like, what are the watch outs and what are the insights, and is this going to work with your life? Because if I really never had this group of folks, in the beginning of my career, because I didn't think of it that way. I just had friends, but I started seeking out people that I really admired and that I was introduced to through, something. And, throughout my career, I mean, I've got, I probably have 5 or 6 folks that when I'm trying to think about sort of a change or a transition, I'm, hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee or let's have a drink or something. And really just bounce ideas off. Like, to Heather's point, like, it's, I'm really not looking for somebody to tell me what to do. I mean, I think I kind of can get there on that at this point. But in terms of, reaching out and having a solid, it's not a formal thing. It's a very informal thing. And trying to, get sort of another perspective, really. Maybe I missed something, I mean, I think that's one of the great things about women in leadership is we can be very open and are very open and use, as Brene talks about, sort of our vulnerability to, is a strength. And so that personal board of directors really helps me, because it's like, me, my life, what I want to achieve and where I'm headed. What's your perspective on doing this or starting my own company or, asking for promotion or whatever the things are. And those folks the insight is invaluable. And I'm really grateful for those relationships.
Robin, the way you just framed that, it's like getting together with a group of friends and just having a conversation and gaining different perspectives, right? Because we've all walked a different path in our life. How transformative that can be when there are people you trust that you see as being a model. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. I know all of you have extensive experience in your fields, and we talked a little bit about your career paths and how you've all, kind of moved through the ranks or, made really bold decisions to leave the ranks behind and start your own initiative. And we have, so many generations now in the workplace. With Gen Z coming into the workplace, do you see gaps or generational differences? And if so, like, how do you bridge those gaps? Kristen, can we start with you?
Yeah, I mean, this is a fun topic for me to talk about. I'm a big believer in not, and I know Robin and Heather agree. We talked a lot about this leading up to it, but it's not labeling generational kind of whatever norms, whatever that means. Every generation has their things. So if you start there, for me, though, it's interesting because when I think about next generation in those types of conversations, it applies in 2 ways. It's the future of our membership, and it's the future of our employees. And for me, I work directly for a club president and a board of governors who really help. They set the strategic path, and it's my job to get them there. And so it's important to be aware of, the next generation and the future of the club. And especially here where it's so deeply rooted in traditions and history, you're balancing that. And the quote that I used from a former club treasurer during my interview was unchanged values in a changing environment. And I thought I keep it on my desk. It's a good reminder to me, no matter what kind of the big issue is. It could be around something financial policy. It could be a capital project, a new building improvement. But, go back and ask yourself that. So that's on the membership side, where it's interesting being kind of a new generation of a GM here and representing, a different group that had been represented for the 30 years prior, or not the full 30 years, more recently with David being more senior in his career. we've really focused internally here on truly what are our values as an employer, and the areas, the top 4 that I look at that we really pay attention to, and you can see it on LinkedIn. Squirrel Squad is our Instagram out there publicly, which is kind of faux pas in a lot of clubs. You won't see public things like that. As long as it's not on the member side, we're following the rules, but on the recruitment side and the employee side and getting that culture into the public eye is really important for the future of what we need here for our employee base. But community relations and being a good neighbor, diversity, equity, and inclusion, sustainability, especially where we are in Massachusetts. Brookline happens to be an extremely progressive community. And we had recently, just last year, we've had a wonderful governance chair on our board, and she established a employee scholarship fund. And so looking at how you invest in your employees and how that might write their future differently, and that the club can truly change lives in all 4 of those aspects, or something that I would say our strategy is for my leadership team. And those are really the core values that we're trying to look at, other than the things like we do promote within, and we are an educational institution, and we're so fortunate to have a membership who supports that, and they love seeing people get promoted or hired out of here. It's a feather, and a lot of feathers in the country club's cap when it comes to this world. But those are just some of the things I would highlight as you're asking the question, because there's so much there. It's such a fun topic.
Kristen, that's great. And the 4 items that you highlighted are items that I hear expressed for our students when they're looking at employers and interviewing employers about their next step and taking that on. So it's good to know that your club is in good hands.
You got to ask those students.
Yeah, exactly.
We ask the students. So many of us have them in our companies, and you go, why don't we just ask them?
Right.
That's Robin's point.
Yes, so keep the lines of communication wide open for certain. Robin, what are your thoughts on this topic? I know you mentioned it early on when you talked about, people who inspire you.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the stories I have from my early 20s, sort of just going into the workforce, in cube world out there. I remember an older gentleman, higher up than me, asking, do you even know who the Beatles are? I thought, I mean, yeah, of course I know who the Beatles are. And it is very offensive at times around my age, and, certainly being promoted and running teams by the time I was 25 or 26. When you're put in that situation, there's a lot of back then, people that just don't like that, right? They especially for young women back then. So that a little bit of my experience from the 90s really leads me to handle a younger generation in a much different way. And certainly in advertising, I mean, it will burn you out. It's like dog years over here sometimes. And you really it's really a young person's industry. It's a lot of long hours and overnights and things like that. And so we're a very flat organization, and that's the way I kind of see it. I have an open door, let's chat about this. Let's figure this out. The technology and social consciousness and politics and all the things that, young people are very involved in and talk about a lot. Those are things that I just don't want to be like, well, you're 22, go back to your cube. It's not, we can't do that. And I don't want to do that. I mean, I'm so inspired, the diversity of thought with the different generations in our office breeds huge success for clients, for ourselves internally. I don't want to just breathe my own exhaust all day. This is the way we've always done it. I can't stand that, and, the Gen Z or any of the generations to be able to be open and bring ideas, that there's no idea is a bad idea. I mean, there are some bad ideas, but let's just say in general, let's bring it all out there. Should we go buy a private island? I don't know. What if? Let's use our what if here. And the people that haven't had the burden in many ways of 30 years of experience can see things with fresh eyes. And I don't really see age that much, probably like Kristen mentioned. It's more about sort of what do you bring to the table, and certainly with young women today, they don't seem to have, at least the ones that I know, don't seem to have like these, this fear. They seem to be that I used to have, about getting a seat at the table. I'm like, I have to be invited and I have to be sure I'm ready and I have to have a giant stack of papers and, have everything prepared. They'll just fly on in, man, and just be open to sharing their thoughts, with really, no structure, which in many ways, I really, like I said, that's why it inspires me so much. So I think, certainly there's the traditional differences in generations, like I would never leave the office before my boss 25 years ago. You know what I mean? They're just like, look, it's time to go. I got to go,
Yeah. It's in
Like
many
that.
ways, we have to envy that, that
Yes.
freedom that they have, this independence to approach their career however they choose to do
That's
that.
right.
So that's
Love
great.
that.
Thank you. Heather, what are your thoughts on this topic?
I love this topic. Like Kristen had said earlier, there's then for anyone who's like listening to us and participating here, if you're into this topic, you have to look up Jason Dorsey. He's with the Center for Generational Kinetics. This guy, this is what he does. He studies generations and he follows the dollar signs and he looks at, why the different generations spend their money in different areas. And I don't know, the guy's just genius when it comes to this stuff. But I'm lucky that I've got a small team. There's only 8 of us here, but we've got 4 different generations working under one roof right now. And one of the things I was sharing when we were like preparing for today was I'm noticing my own vocabulary, like my daily vocabulary is changing. So, I was telling a story about how we have like my internship student, my mentee that I'm working with today. I had mentioned something about, well, just make sure you get all your documentation ready and you want to make sure you're able to cover your butt on this one. And she's like, oh, okay. So you mean I got to show up with receipts? And I said, oh, yeah, okay. And then she came in a few days later and she's like, hey, with this whole stack of paper, she's like, I've got my receipts, which was kind of cute. And then, I use the term pound sign and they might use hashtag, or they didn't know what the pound sign was on the telephone. And anyway, so I noticed we're in an environment where we can, kind of learn from each other and have fun with it and celebrate the differences across the generations. But I don't know. I mean, I think when it comes to communication and teamwork and all of that stuff, it's not just generations. It's then your communication style. And are you introvert or extrovert or this or that? Or, like there's just so many layers here that, just being open and brainstorming and coming up with ideas. That's really just the best way to go about it anyway, I think.
I think that's wonderful. And reflecting on everyone's responses, you're really talking about leaders having a growth mindset, right?
Mhm.
Not getting so like siloed that I only do it this one way, but rather that diversity of perspective makes such a difference and builds stronger organizations. So one of the things we talked about when we met was that work-life balance and whether or not that's the right term as we continue to move on. Is balance even possible? So the question that I have for you is, how do you do it? What are your thoughts on how to balance the demands of life, particularly when you're at those early stages of your career? Robin, can we start with you on this topic?
Sure. I mean, my quick answer is one day at a time. I mean, every day is a new day. Priorities change every day. I will say that over my career, certainly the jobs that I wanted, tried to take, things I tried to do were, changed as I had children because I wanted them to be a priority. I did not want them to be an afterthought after work. It was really important to me that they took first place. I don't know that there's some sort of perfect balance. I don't think for any person, really. I mean, I told the story of being on an executive team of all men, and I was the only female for some time, and being presenting at a general manager conference. And we took a Q&A at the end. And one of the questions were, how do you balance work and life? And I mean, I'm not going to actually eye roll, but I will say that, you know, the answers from the guys who I have deep respect for very much were like, well, you know, I just make sure I get all my work done during the day and then I go home. And, you know, it was very different than my answer, which is I just don't know that you can have perfect balance. And to me, you know, and that was what, 15 years ago. I think the answers might be different today, but, you know, my belief is that I want it all. I do. I want all the things. I want to be a great mom. I want to be successful in my career. I want to be proud of what I do. I want to be a great wife. I want to be a good daughter. I want all those things. I want them all. And every day I kind of have to choose. I can't spend time with my parents every single day. I can't, you know, go shopping or have some fun little date with my son, you know, every single day. I mean, I have to make choices. And I hope in the end, when, you know, all this is said and done, that they will all say that she gave, you know, her heart every single day in the ways that she could. So I just, you know, I became an entrepreneur. I started my own company because I had children. That was the driving force, was flexibility and trying to build a life that I could do everything that I wanted to do, you know. And I know we can't do everything all the time, but that was what my impetus was for moving in another direction. And so I don't think you can have everything all the time, but I think one day at a time is the way that I've always approached it.
I think that's great. And having the courage to try, right? You have to try to have the balance or the integration that we're all looking for. Heather, what are your thoughts?
I think you just have to do it. I mean, and as a leader, you have to lead by example. I remember when we were rebuilding our team and we had some new folks coming in, and I was trying to catch up on my own work. So, you know, I'm working over the weekend. I do not work every single weekend. It happened to be this one weekend. And I came in the next day and I had all of these responses from like these emails I sent out to our team. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why are they like, what are they doing working on a Sunday night? And then I realized that I had emailed them on a Sunday morning. So I had to go and say, hey, just because I'm emailing on a weekend does not mean you have to respond on a weekend. Like I had to reset the boundaries, I guess. I was not expecting them to respond whatsoever. I was just trying to work, you know, clear my inbox and work through my own stuff. I also, a recent thing was I received, I was at home, it's like 7:30 at night, and I was on the phone with my mother and, you know, having our weekly chats. And I got a text from an employee saying, oh my gosh, did you see Dale's email? Again, Dale being our CEO. How should we respond? And I said, well, I'm on the phone right now. You know, it's like 7:30 on a Tuesday. I said, I'll take a look at it when I'm off the phone. So I took a look at it, and it was just an email that came in. And I said, we don't need to do anything right now. And she said, but you know, it seems urgent. And I said, if it was urgent, we would have received a phone call on our cell phone or some type of like important text or something. But I didn't get a phone call. Did you? And they said, no, I didn't get a phone call. I said, okay, then. It waits until tomorrow. So I think it's up to us as leaders. Yes, we have a lot to get done. It is hard, but we've got to make sure that we're setting the work, the balance, or I know Kristen likes to say the integration, right? I'm sure she's going to talk about that. It's up to us to set that for those that are coming up the ranks behind us.
Yeah, we have to model it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what we're looking for. Kristen, do you want to talk about integration and your thoughts on that?
You could do a whole 1 hour session on just, you know, this topic because we're going down to that technology and setting boundaries, and it is part of your team building now, should be talking about the ways that people prefer to be communicated to, and you should have an awareness of that a little bit. But this is a 365-day operation. We're open 24 hours a day. I do have, we have employees here overnight, watching the property. And so when you're in that world, it's, the doors don't close on Friday at 6 necessarily. And so but the business office does work Monday through Friday here, and other departments do, and some are operational and they're on when everybody else is off. And so I think an active conversation around this is really critical for everyone, and in really understanding and I'd like to say leading by example, but Saturdays and Sundays sometimes when I'm here are my most productive times because I'm not in meetings. But I think understanding the individual, I know that our CFO thinks anytime I send an email, he needs to respond immediately. So I've learned to use that little timer on Outlook, and it'll send on Monday morning to him. And, I think it just, people, those little insights about people's personal preferences actually go a really long way. And that is in a lot of ways heart-led leadership, to coin the term that the book is after. But I think from a really high level, I look at my career and my decision. We've been labeled here locally the hospitality family. You get restaurants, and everybody knows this is a large operation here locally. One of the things in club management that I always start with is perspective. A lot of people in my industry for decades got up to a podium and talked about how what we do is a sacrifice. And I went, whoa, what a heavy word for something that I love to do. I mean, we're making memories for people. And that doesn't mean that there aren't critical times or emergencies or sad times or really difficult times. But really, if you keep perspective on what you are trying to deliver in our member experience, that is always where we try to kind of pull ourselves back in and get to home base and say, what are the why of why we're doing things, or how do we kind of put our goals together as a team as a result? So I don't look at it as a sacrifice. I feel that I was lucky enough early on in my career to go, the only way I'm going to be able to do it all, because every time Robin starts on how she wants to be an amazing wife, mother, and career woman, I'm right there with her. My head almost falls off. I'm nodding so aggressively, is to the higher up the ladder you are. If you're in an environment like mine, which is extremely structured, and I always had to answer to someone on my schedule, get control on your schedule. The more work that you put in your 20s and really try to stay focused and keep your eye on the prize, everything else starts to fall into place. In a lot of ways, as my husband is a restaurant owner and I am the GM here, we control our schedule. And in a lot of ways, when I talk to my friends that have to be somewhere Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, they're missing the 3 p.m. soccer practice that I might be able to go to because I can zip in and out. And that was where the proximity to the club came into play, with where we ended up really rooting our home and everything. But my favorite story, and it's so stereotypical on a women's panel to talk about it, but I was getting my hair done, and there was a 70-something-year-old woman who was the CEO at a local financial institution for many years. And she had heard my stylist asking about work, and she kind of put it together who I was, because I actually was going to interview at that local club at one point in my career. And so we started talking, and at the time, I think my kids were 1 and 3. And so I was kind of in the thick of it at the beginning, and still just trying to figure out this new version of our life. And she said, I use the term balance. And she said, one thing I've tried to impart on a lot of individuals, not having to do with gender, is balance implies that something comes up short. And she said, you can do it all, but I prefer the word integration. And that is, and Heather now and Robin have heard it a few times, but that really, it stuck with me. And that is truly like our North Star is, what is our support system and how do we integrate these things as best we can, knowing that you can't do 100% of the time, but boundaries are so critical. But the first step is, for anyone that's a recent grad, you've got to get to that point. And so it's important at the beginning to really, not that the work gets easier, it's just different, and how you manage your time is different, and your priorities.
Kristen, that's great. I mean, just the way you reframed sacrifice and reframe balance in terms of, it's not one thing, but it's your whole life coming together like one giant puzzle. So hopefully that is really helpful to folks who are listening today. Robin, as a woman, you've worked with organizations and then kind of broke away and founded your own company. It takes a lot of courage, very entrepreneurial. What advice would you give our alumni who may have similar aspirations?
Well, I certainly didn't feel like I had any courage. It was terrifying. In fact, I knew nothing about starting my own company. I had always worked for someone else. I still do, I guess, our clients. But I mean, just to be very open about it, I was a chief marketing officer at a publicly traded company, and I was Googling how to start your own company, like literally in my Google search. I did not know what I needed to do. I didn't know what kind of documents I needed. It seemed, even with a master's or an MBA and learning, taking entrepreneurship classes and things like that, it's until you figure out what it is you want to do, like what's the point of you starting it? What's your purpose? Because purpose obviously is going to drive your success and growing your own company. It's you really have to identify what's the point. I mean, and I was being driven a little bit by my children, because I needed to be able to be there. And Kristen mentioned it earlier, it's the jobs become more strategic as you go up the ranks, right? They're a little more, you need more thinking time. It's not 10 meetings in a row typically. But first of all, I will say it has been a blast. I mean, it is blood, sweat, tears, joy, right? Like it has been a labor of love. I never set out to make a whole lot of money. That was not really my objective. I mean, certainly, as an entrepreneur, I'd like to make more, in our company, so we can pay people more and do fun things and, have popsicle Fridays or whatever. But it is a blast, but it is really hard work. Right. And I think I mentioned these guys, somebody told me at the beginning, like the best part of owning your own company is the day you open and the day you close. And everything else in between is just a lot of constant work. I was very impatient in the beginning. I really thought that, oh gosh, I'm going to open this thing and we're going to get off the ground, and all the people that help me are going to make a lot of money and be really happy and have a good time. Well, it just takes time to really get in your groove. It is not something that happens overnight. If you listen to anybody talk about entrepreneurship, certainly there's all these stories of people that are 22 or 23 and they, they do some sort of, create some sort of, app, and next thing you know, they're billionaires. Well, that's just not the norm. I mean, it takes time. The average age of an entrepreneur is 45. And so for me, you just have to work really hard. And I would say the biggest lesson I've learned in the 9 years that I've had my own company is to ask for help. And I am not one to ask for help. I am not one to say, can you help me with this? And I've learned that over time, that it's okay. It's okay to ask somebody for help, or ask what you think is a stupid question. Somebody's going to be able to, your personal board of directors, or even folks like meeting, Heather and Kristen, like learning from them. I've already learned so much just in the short time I've known them, asking questions. How do you do that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's great, because I think you gave two really good pieces of advice, which is A, it's never too late. B, to be patient and to ask questions, right? So none of us have all the answers. So I know we're getting close to our time, and I want to give Kristen and Heather an opportunity to talk about how your career trajectory may look different than that of others, that you may have, delayed or foregone things that you wanted, deserved, or in terms of title and salary. What advice would you provide our audience members with to change perceptions and encourage people to go after what they want without apprehension? So, Heather, can you talk about that a little bit? What advice do you have for the audience?
I can try to. And I say, the reason why I say try to is because I realize that I'm in a little bit of a different position. I think Kristen is right there with me, that I've been with this one company for, 25 years now. That's not the norm that's out there. I still, to this day, though, when you look at the different job titles or responsibilities or things that I was involved in on a personal level and how they related professionally, I can very clearly see my career pathway. And I can clearly see, I want to get involved in this, or I want to learn more about this piece of it. So how can I do that? Whereas some people say, oh, you've been at hospitality for 25 years, you must be doing the same job every day how do you do it for 25 years? That is the furthest from the truth. I am constantly trying to learn new skills, learn new things, pay attention to technology. I'm right now trying to figure out and study what this whole metaverse thing is, because that's coming. And I don't know how it's going to have I know it will have an effect on me. I don't know how just yet. So I'm constantly looking for ways that I can just kind of expand my knowledge, expand my education, expand my professional networking. So I don't know. I think I mentioned it earlier, Marie, you just got to go and do it. Sometimes it's you stare at that, like the Microsoft Word and the flashing cursor, and you're like, I don't know what to type. I types anything, something, just start somewhere.
Yeah.
Just get started.
Yeah, get it on the paper or on the computer, however we do it, right? You get the concept going. Kristen, what are your thoughts on this topic?
I had to, as Heather was, because both of us chuckle at something like that, because I think at face value, the context is like, why ask the two people that have not, really stayed in the same place. But I think the lesson is in that. One thing, it's just such a pet peeve, that whole like stay at your first job for 3 to 5 years. Like anyone putting a timer on somewhere that they found that they love and they want to be part of is ridiculous. And that's where I just say, it is not about whatever you're learning in your resume building class about tenure and how much time you need to put in. If you find an environment that is investing in you and you're happy with, then it kind of starts there. That's the foundation. Stay if you like it. It's okay. And in all, usually things that contribute to that are going to be, in my case, I had a mentor that we missed a key point on that, but I trusted. And so anything that he was, would ask me to do as a little mission impossible and take over for a department for a month until we got that person hired, or, can you establish a department for 11 months and then we'll hand it over to someone else and hire within? And, my answer was yes. And I think, to boil it down in simplistic terms for anyone that is looking for that type of career advice, say yes to everything. Do not leave an opportunity on the table. I guarantee you will be judged for it if you say no. And it's also, you don't know what doors are going to open. And one of the things I loved about Marie's intro, never looked at it this way, but we're all comfortable being in uncomfortable situations. And for me, saying yes could be, can you help us establish a communications department for the first time in the club's history? Or it was, I got invited to play a round of golf with 3 of the board members, or our golf professional, and 2 other male board members. And it was 3 guys, and they were all much better players than I was, but I said yes. You don't miss out, because I've been wired and trained to know that a lot happens on that golf course, and you don't want to be the woman missing out. And so I'd always go to club management and say, learn how to play golf. So that does apply to a lot of businesses. But when I look back at my career, literally weeks before this whole succession plan was introduced, I was on the golf course with our golf pro, golf chair, and our club president, and drove home from a vacation for a few hours and drove back up and was with my family for dinner. But it was that important. And my husband understood. He was like, you can't say no to that, and so it was, we decided that together. And I truly think that one step was an opportunity for them to get to know me better, and really helped me get that position ultimately. So I think, I say it all the time, especially to new in the career, just say yes, especially if it's from someone who you trust, and don't put a timer on your jobs and resume building. Stay where you find is a good environment.
Kristen, that's so great, because it resonates so much with me. I've been at the university for over 30 years, right? And so it was leaning into every opportunity, even though there are moments that I thought, I'm not ready for that. Like, I don't think I can do that. As you recounted your story, it just resonates with people. And, for our audience, just to kind of lean in And you might not be ready, but it might be a mentor who you don't even realize is mentoring you at that point, who's opening doors to an opportunity. So thank you all. Just incredible advice for our listeners. We want to transition to the audience and have their questions answered. And so the first question, and feel free to answer as you like, how did you cope with COVID? And did any of your employees have to work hybrid or remote? Is the first part of the question. And then the second part is, did you have to make adjustments to keep your customers and your employees feeling safe and comfortable? I think this individual is really focused on the food service industry because they're looking for work and just trying to find the right atmosphere in this new environment. So
I can start if that's okay, Marie.
Okay.
So what's interesting for our industry specifically is, and I think for the majority of our industry, we are still in the service and experience industry. And it's very, very difficult to provide that experience and that high level of service when you're not physically in person. When COVID happened, and my association is very similar to Kristen being with a country club, like a private club with members. You have members that you have to service. They're the ones that pay your bills, and those are your customers. We immediately moved to a hybrid model. And the good news with it is that our leadership, our executive team here within our organization, Dale believes in making sure that everybody has the highest level of technology we can possibly afford. So it was very easy for us to immediately move into a remote work environment because everybody already had the tools that they needed to start work immediately. Where the challenge came in was, I have people on my staff that teach food safety classes. And it was, okay, well, we can't be in person, but we can still teach somehow online. Let's just figure it out. And I remember I had one particular trainer that was like, well, I don't know how to do this. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know how to do it either, but we got to figure it out. And there were two people actually, and one of them was like, all right, I don't know, I'm gonna go Google it. I'm, like Robin talking about how do you Googling how do you open your own business? How do you do this in this new world that we're living in? And I had someone else that was just fighting and did not do well in that remote work environment. For this particular question that's coming in from someone today, I think you've got to figure out, where are you going to excel? There are certain positions that you just cannot do remotely. It has to be in person. Then you've got to look at, how do you work best? Are you better working remotely? Are you better working in person? What is your pace? What is your type of thing? And then also the industry or the sector or the customers that you're serving. Working for an association that represents restaurants, hotels, and tourism, meetings and conventions and all of that, we needed people to get back out and go on vacations and leisure travel and business travel. We needed people to get back out into the restaurants and dine in and stay in our local hotels. So when our members are in a live, real, face-to-face, in-person environment, we need to be in an in-person environment. So that's the way we treat it, but we're also very flexible too. I mean, if I've got a contractor coming over to my house to give me a quote on something, and he's going to be there, between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m., well, all right, I have the ability to work remotely and not have to take any vacation time just to accommodate that particular employee opportunity. So you got to figure out where the balance is.
Right. Kristen, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I feel like Robin probably is better for it, just is specific to that question. But I would just say, you know, for us, it's, if anything, clubs were a safe place for people. So it's been interesting. Our industry has exploded. COVID has been very good for clubs and the sports that are generally involved in country clubs. But I would say from the food service aspect, it's definitely because of that explosion. I think if anything, we're learning that we have to be more flexible, and it's more in like the quality of life with the employees and making sure that the folks that you do need here operationally are getting a schedule that kind of fits and isn't the grind that this business has been labeled with so much. Operationally, I'm speaking, but for me, I didn't love COVID, obviously, but I love the lessons that we learned out of it, and the fact that we now have a more open mind to things that we just would have said no to 5 years ago. And for me to be an effective leader and really help our team, you have to be flexible and be able to give them everything that Heather just outlined. I mean, if once upon a time here, there was no option to work from home because it was like, well, this is a face-to-face industry. Well, I have to be a lot more flexible in that in the future. And I know that, and it's identifying those positions and, hopefully defining people's expectations. And if they're getting their job done, I'm generally not going to jump up and down, but you work with a problem the same way you would have 10 years ago. It's just, that's going to come through no matter what. But Robin, I think from the client end of things too, there was another piece of that.
Well,
question.
the restaurant industry as a whole, I mean, just obviously the government shut down the entire industry. So there's, I would say, and certainly one of our largest clients, Golden Corral, is a buffet segment. They were shut down for even longer. From a labor market perspective, the industry still desperately needs people. There's all kinds of things happening at the National Restaurant Association in terms of immigration and guest worker programs and some things to try to get more people. For our business, we went down to zero. Our clients were like, we can't market anything right now. We don't even have anything to market. So we created a lot of virtual brands. We had to think totally differently, just like you're talking about. We had to think like, what do people really need right now? They need food delivery that's safe. So from a delivery perspective and a food service worker perspective, there's so much opportunity right now. We have, I don't remember the final number from the National Restaurant Association, but I think it was something like 150,000 seats we lost during the pandemic. So we had a major correction in the industry. And so that's less restaurants, but still people left, in primarily women, left the restaurant industry in droves. They rearranged their schedules, and maybe they stayed home with their kids or whatever. So we're still trying to get people back. So I would say the opportunity is pretty great for specifically the restaurant and hotel operations and hospitality in general, and manufacturing facilities too, and food service.
Great, thank you. The next question is a lesson that you personally experienced that has helped you climb that ladder to success.
That's a great question. I guess I can give that a crack. I'll tell you, I was working at Applebee's in their corporate office. And I was at a director level, and I never thought I would rise up any kind of ranks. It was before I got my MBA. And they brought in a business psychologist to kind of talk to all the directors and understand what your possibilities were, what your potential was. And I went through all the testing and everything. And this psychologist was like, have you ever thought about sort of leading, being more of a generalist, like being like a VP or something like that? And I'm like, no, why would I want to do that? I remember thinking that and saying that out loud because my boss worked 24/7. She worked overnight. And I was like, I do not want that kind of life. And I told the guy that. I was like, look, I don't really want that kind of life. He was, well, you can make it your way. I never occurred to me that I could do it my way, and after that, and they gave us business coaches or life coaches at that time is what they called them. And I started, and that person actually is now today my business executive coach. But, she's like, Robin, you can make your life whatever you want it to be. And it's really what encouraged me too, to go get an MBA, because I had a communications undergrad. I'm like, gosh, I feel like, I'm missing something now. Like maybe I never thought about it this way before. So that, I don't even remember what that person's name was or whatever, but that sort of was a turning point for my career, that I can lead my family. I can lead teams of people in the way that comes. I can bring my whole self to work, as people say sometimes. I can be who I am. I can talk the way I need to talk and dress the way I want to dress and be me fully and still be very, very successful in whatever I decide to do.
Great. Kristen, any thoughts?
For me, it's funny. There's so many lessons we could, that's a whole other segment too. But I think that one that comes to mind is I was probably at the mid-level and I made an assumption that I was going to get, someone had departed and I made an assumption I was going to get that job. And I was told no. And it was good for me. I think that, you know, it all worked out, but it helped kind of contribute to the natural drive that I had. And I think that lesson truly for people that are at that mid-level of their career, it's important that you don't take that as necessarily the discouragement at face value, because ultimately that person didn't work for the club and I did get that position. So my resume and story sound like it was an easy glide. I would say it was a bumpy climb and more like rock climbing instead of climbing. And I think that that's an important point. And the biggest thing is make sure you learn what not to do too. We've given a lot of great advice of people that we pulled, that we trust and love and are going to give us, that are honest with us and candid, which doesn't always feel great, but it's important that you have that. And recently our leadership team last week just went through a predictive index. So that personality test and seeing how people adapt at work or not and understanding each other better. But the lessons are endless, but I think it's all in how you take the lessons and be okay with failing sometimes too. Just get back up and try again.
Thank you. Heather, what was your lesson?
I think I'm going to go back to something that I said earlier during the discussion where I said, your reputation is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I years ago, it still happens sometimes, but years ago, I screwed up on something really, really big. And it was a big deal. And I didn't know what to do. I was panicking. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to tell my boss I screwed up on something? What's going to happen? I'm going to get fired. I like all of these things, right? And I went in and I was so scared, but I had to be brave at the same time, right? And I went in and I remember saying, I made a mistake. And this is what I did. And this is what happened. And this is how I think we need to fix it. And I thought for sure, to be honest, guys, I don't even remember what the mistake was, but I remember that feeling I had, right? And Dale said to me, we're going to fix it. It's okay. The fact that you owned up to it, the fact that you were honest about making a mistake and that you had potential solutions to fix the mistake. And it's in those moments where how you handle yourself and demonstrate your integrity in those moments of truth, I think that's what will set you up to expand and just have the career that you want to have. Because as soon as someone doesn't trust you, as soon as someone doesn't respect you, it's all down here from there. So just making sure that you're consistently owning those moments and having integrity that was a great lesson for me to learn early on in my career.
Well, thank you all for sharing your lessons and your insight. It really has been an incredible opportunity for me. I feel so fortunate to have spent some time with you. Clearly, each of you has paved the way for future generations of women, showing us examples of resiliency and courage and authenticity. Just thank you from the bottom of my heart for inspiring us today, for modeling what good leaders need to do in the workplace. And I think always leaning in and helping others along the way. So thank you for that.